I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about quality. That's one of the objectives of this class, is to produce quality food and provide quality service. But what is quality? What are we really talking about when we talk about quality? Because what is quality to one person may not be quality to another person. And, you know, as we're looking at dietetic associations, as we're looking at other things, and one of the things that they are concerned about is quality. Quality of the profession, quality of the professional. So what do we really mean when we talk about quality? And to make matters worse, I'm going to talk about total quality management. And total quality management is really saying that quality is a factor that is going to begin at the very highest levels of the organization, and that it becomes an integral part of that organization. It's not just something like a coat that you put on and take off. Sometimes we talk about quality, sometimes we don't talk about quality. When we talk about total quality management, quality and that quest for quality drives the whole organization. And that is critical, I think, that if we are going to be successful in our profession, we must achieve quality. But again, I'm going to ask the question, what is quality? There are a number of definitions of quality, and I'd like to take a look at one, a number of definitions, and see if we can't come up with one that will fit our needs as far as a definition of quality. Quality is what a customer wants and expects. An example of that, one that I like to use is, do you go on picnics? And what kind of food do you take on picnic? I'm sorry?
Coming back to sandwiches.
Yeah, okay. All right. So if in the sandwiches there is some sand that is in the sandwiches, is that okay? Is that quality? Will you tolerate it?
If you're really hungry.
Exactly right. Exactly right. If you were in a fine restaurant and they serve a food product with sand in it, are you going to be happy? Are you going to eat that?
No, it's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
So I'd like to suggest that maybe the environment has something to do with our perception of quality. But I do not want to depreciate or devalue the concept that the individual's likes and dislikes, wants and expectations affect quality. And so how do we know what the customer wants in terms of quality?
Send free meals.
Okay, you could do that. Mm-hmm. It might be done in the context of a focus group. Do you know focus group? Do you know what that means? Anyone not? Okay. And so you can give a meal and ask them to evaluate the meal. And so what we're really doing is asking them. In whatever format we want, we're going to ask them what they want. And so we can take that want and expectation and try to deliver what we perceive the customer wants. Secondly, conformance to requirements or standards. Well, we can talk about quality in terms of dietetics education because there are standards that our department follows, and I think that your department follows in terms of what is expected of a dietetics program, in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the amount of supervised professional practice hours, and a number of things. And so the degree to which we meet those requirements or standards would say then that we have quality. Another definition. The third one is a professional or scientific basis of measurement. We plan a menu, we do a nutrient analysis of that menu, and we can determine then the nutrient content of that menu. And so we have done a professional and scientific measurement of that meal, and we can then say, does it meet the standard in terms of the amount of nutrients that we need and that we recognize as the standard? So we have met that standard. The fourth quality of quality is being designed into the product. The product has quality if it meets design specifications. Do you know what I'm talking about there? My son is a mechanical engineer, and he has a wonderful, wonderful job, but he's always talking about design specifications. Do you know what a design specification is? Have you ever seen a blueprint for building a home, a house? That's a design specification. That says the dimensions of the entire floor plan, the dimensions of each of the rooms. It also talks about the quality of the products that are going to be used in making that house. And so that is a design specification. Do we have in nutrition and dietetics design specifications?
We have guides.
I'm sorry?
We have guides, but
We have guides. Yeah, okay. Let's talk a little bit more about this. A product has quality if it meets design specifications. Design specifications really come from the wants and expectations of the customer. So what we have here is a loop. And so we talk with our customers as to what they want. Okay? And then we design a product that we feel reflects what the customer has told us that they want. Then we go to the customer and say, will you evaluate this, in a focus group, for example. Is this what you were talking about? Is this the quality that you expected? And if it is, then the plan that was drawn up for that meal, that whatever, if it meets what the customer wants, then it says that we have met that design specification. And so we could say that we have quality. So it comes from the wants and needs of the customer. It's going to conform to their requirements or to their standards. And we are professional and scientific in the way in which we go about this process. It's a very rational, very it's a process that is very specific in the processes that we've gone through. It's well thought out. Now, seeing your pen there makes me want to get my pen out. I have a pen right here. And is this a quality pen?
Is it from America?
Good point. What do you expect in a pen? That it will write. Yes, that will do that function. Anything else that you're going to look for in the quality of this pen or a pen?
Easy to grab when you write something.
That
Not
it-
too hard or not too long or too large or to be easy to handle.
So it will work continuously without blotching or that type of thing. Could we also say writes first time every time? So that whenever you take up the pen and start writing, the ink is flowing and it's going to work every time. You don't have to poke it on the table. You don't have to do whatever. It will work. So that's important. Anything else that's important?
Color.
Color?
Color.
Yeah, right.
Prettier color.
It's not messy.
The what?
It's not messy, doesn't leave dirt.
I'm not understanding. Sorry.
It's not messy.
Oh, it's not messy. Okay.
Dirt.
So it's a very defined line. It's not going to go outside of what we expect. How much did you pay for your pen?
Actually, it was a gift.
Mine was too. How much would you be willing to pay for a pen that met all of the specifications that we've been talking about?
Nothing, because I always get them for free.
I had a friend who used to buy pens where he would pay many dollars, $300, $400, $500 for a pen. Is that quality? Is there a quality in that pen that my pen or your pen don't have?
Maybe.
Writes first.
I think he's the only one that sees that quality.
Well,
Maybe
that could
he's
be.
just
It's
paying for the label.
Yeah.
yeah, that could be very well. And the quality of the components that go into that pen. But does it write first time every time? Is it a fine line or a medium line or the kind of line that we've wanted? If we can say that the pen meets those requirements, what we have just done are outline design specifications. So we're going to design the pen. We're going to make certain that materials that we use that go into the pen will for certain meet our requirements on the long term. I have pens that I get for free that will work first time, but they don't work every time. After a time or two of use, they're gone. Unfortunately, these pens are the pens that we give out at Loma Linda. I'm looking for a better pen. So, will you accept this definition of quality as being meeting a design specification? I think that this, to me, incorporates all of the aspects of the various definitions. But now the problem that we face is there anything in nutrition and dietetics that comes even close to a design specification? Do we have input into anything where we are going to say, these are our standards, this is our design specification? And I just use the word standard. And I can very comfortably, in my own mind, exchange the words design specification to standard. Okay? So, meeting a standard, the second one. So, we have designed in our design specifications a standard that we are going to follow. And I would like to suggest that we have a number of them. The menu probably being the most important of the design specifications that we have. It's going to represent our values, our vision, but it also has to meet the needs of the customer and their likes and their dislikes. And so together we jointly form a design specification. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about the menu. The menu as a design specification and putting all of that information together so that when we have a menu, we really have a statement of quality that is going to be given to the patient. We have other design specifications, such as purchase specifications. What do you look for in purchasing any given product that you want? And I hope that we'll be able to actually do some comparisons when we talk about purchasing, so that we can do a comparison of what our expectations are, what the standards are associated with those products, and see if there are any differences. We also have specifications as it relates to a product, a menu product. What should a meatloaf look like? What should the consistency of it be? That's part of the design specification that is reflected in the standardized recipe. So the standardized recipe is also a design specification. But in the area of clinical nutrition, we also have design specifications. Do you have anything that would be referred to as a standard care plan for a patient? So when a patient with diabetes comes to the hospital, is there a set of expectations that these are the things that will be done for this patient? That is a standard of quality. It is a design specification. So we are evaluated based upon the degree to which we have met that design specification, or the degree to which we have met that standard care plan. So the use of the word standard really comes up there, but we have designed that standard. The physicians have approved that standard, and so we're working together to assure that the quality of what we are providing is just exactly what we need. Now, we use some other terms as we talk about quality that I think that you need to understand. And this has been a process that has been ongoing in healthcare for quite a number of years now, in terms of how do we evaluate quality in terms of healthcare. And so when this really first came out, there was a lot of talk about quality control, quality assurance. And quality control, let's talk about that first, is the definition of a standard. Any of the kind of standards that we've been talking about, and we're going to talk about a whole lot more throughout the rest of this class. And so when we're done, we should be able to come up with pages full of standards that we follow in terms of our delivery of healthcare. So quality control is the implementation of the control process, which means establishing a standard, observing what is currently happening. This might be in terms of a standard care plan. It may be in terms of the processes associated with preparing a meal. Is what is happening what should be happening as far as delivery, and not delivery, but making of that food product? And so now, once we have made this observation, we compare what we have observed with the standard. If the two are the same, we have quality control. If the two are not the same, then we need to take corrective action so that we are back on track and that we will have a total quality product when we are done. We use the same process in management in terms of control. We have a standard, we observe what is happening, compare what we observe to the standard, and if necessary, take corrective action. And so quality control is just adding the quality to that aspect. And so we've already talked about this with the exception of purchasing standards, which we really did talk about those, but the job description. And don't worry about this list or these items right now, because we're going to talk about each one of them. The menu tomorrow, standardized recipes, and the next day, purchasing standards, I think by Friday, and job descriptions next week. And so we'll have an opportunity to actually develop some of these standards as we look at developing quality within our organization. I am certain, please verify by saying yes, that you know about HACCP. Do you know HACCP, or is it called by another name in here? Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. You know that, yes? Okay, that's good. So we have critical control points also in quality. And that's really what we're looking at in HACCP, and we're looking in terms of quality. But some of the critical control points in terms of providing a quality meal for our patients is in terms of our menu plan. That's where we really begin our quest for quality. Then, based upon that menu plan, what do we purchase? Is what we purchase what is necessary in order to fulfill the requirements of the menu? In receiving and storage, did we receive what we ordered? We've got quality that we've got to evaluate there. Ingredient control. Are we putting in the correct amount of the correct menu recipe item, or ingredient is what I want to say? Are we putting in the right quantity of the ingredient? Is the food production going all right? Is the temperature of the cooking, like in the oven, is it too high, too low? Is there a danger of it burning? Is there a danger of it being unacceptable to the customer? So those are some of the things that we need to consider as well. Other critical control points has to do with our service. Are we providing the service the way that we had designed it? The delivery of the food. Hot food hot, cold food cold. Are we handling food appropriately? Is there danger of cross-contamination? Are we maintaining our equipment appropriately? In terms of maintenance, can openers, are they dirty so as a result of opening a can, it leaves a sharp piece of metal, which can be which is very dangerous. And then our overall sanitation. All of these are critical points as far as quality is concerned. A moment ago, we were talking about quality control. Another word that we can put in is quality assurance. Are we meeting quality? Are we meeting our standards? We can assure that they are, and so as a result of that, everything is okay. Our standard-setting organizations in the U.S., and I'm certain the same as here, began with the idea that we would make certain that we're just meeting our standards, quality assurance. That concept has gone away. Not that we're not interested in standards or meeting standards anymore. What we're really interested in is continuous quality improvement. Can we do more with less? Now, is that possible? Can a cook or an employee produce more meals in the same amount of time? One of the factors is going to be the menu. How difficult is the menu to prepare? So that would be an example of something that could be changed in order to get more production with the same or less amount of labor. But the idea here in terms of continuous quality improvement is never be satisfied with the way things are. There's a saying that we have, and I did not write it on here correctly, and it is, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. That is an attitude of, I'm satisfied with the way things are. Nothing I can do is going to improve the situation. And so as a result of it, we do not have continuous quality improvement. So that attitude needs to be buried and thrown away and buried, so that we replace that with, is there a way in which we can do the job better? Better from the point of view of a higher quality product for the same price. The Japanese have been exceedingly successful in implementing quality. I think Europeans also, but Japan tends to be the role model here in terms of talking about quality. Because after World War II, a Japanese product, you would run from it because it did not have quality. I can remember as a child having toys that were made in Japan. It was a piece of thin sheet metal that had been put into a press and formed into a car, and then it had some metal wheels that really didn't turn. They were just kind of, it was terrible. It was not quality. It's not something, if I saw made in Japan, throw it away. It was not. But what about things made in Japan today? In terms of electronics, in terms of automobiles, in terms of cameras and watches and so on. They have turned things around with this concept of always looking for another way to eliminate waste. Waste is a costly product. Let's take a look at some of the wastes that are identified by Shaigo Shingo, who was the president of Toyota Motor Company. The 7 wastes that he talks about have real implications, I think, in terms of food service. If you remember our discussion in July, were all of you in the sessions in July? Okay. You were not?
No, I was.
You were? Okay, good. Good. We talked about forecasting when I talked a little bit, and we're going to talk more about that. But errors in forecasting can result in overproduction. When we produce more than what we need, we have used resources, we have used raw materials that did not need to be used. And particularly when we're dealing with a meal, what is the quality of leftovers? Not the best. So that is a waste. So if we can be more precise in terms of our determination of what our need is going to be, then we can have a higher quality in that we are not spending money for something that we're going to essentially throw away. Number 2, waiting. Waiting particularly from the point of view of the product as it goes through the processing. Because as it waits, particularly in food, it's going to lose quality. Food needs to be kept at the appropriate temperature. And if it waits, particularly outside of a refrigerated environment, it's going to lose quality. So that's one of the things that we need to be concerned about. Another is waiting on the part of the customer for the product to be finished. Waiting for service, where the customer is just standing there waiting. And particularly if the person providing the service seems to be more interested in doing other things than helping me or you in that line, we've got a real waste and a problem that needs to be solved. Transportation is a waste. I'll give you an example of unnecessary, in my opinion, transportation. And that is, why is it necessary that we import water from France to the United States? It happens. There are other places, like at home we have Fuji water, water that comes from the island of Fiji that is brought to California. We have water. We have natural springs just within a day's walk from where I live. There's Arrowhead Springs, which is distributed around the world. So we do the same thing. We send water across the ocean. Is that a waste of transportation? Is one water better than another water? Yes, it is. But for the physiological need of water, we have it at home. So transportation can be a waste. Processing, particularly processing that is unnecessary. But we always have to have some processing, but what can we do to minimize the processing is what is being asked for here. And when we talk about quantity production in a few days, we'll talk more about processing. Stock is another. Inventory is another word that we could use for stock. Having an inventory is a waste. Now, when I want something and I go to the store to buy it, I hope that they have it. And I hope that they have an inventory of products so that I can choose between the products that I want so I'm satisfied as a customer. The stocks that we're talking about here are raw material stocks, stocks that have not been processed yet. There is a concept that is used in terms of Toyota and other companies now, in which they use the concept of just-in-time delivery. I went to school in the state of Missouri. The state of Missouri is right in the middle of the United States. And on one side of the state is St. Louis, and on the other side is Kansas City. Both of these cities are automobile assembly centers, not only in Detroit, but also in St. Louis and in Kansas City. Where I went to school was right in the very middle of the state. And one of the characteristics of the products that were made in the city were parts for automobiles, electronics, castings, whatever. And so what happens in terms of just-in-time delivery is that production is scheduled and they know how many parts they need, and so a truck from the center of the state will come to the automobile assembly plant in the morning before assembly begins and delivers those products. So there is no waste of putting that product into inventory to have it come out of inventory to go into processing. It is delivered just in time. Motion is also a waste, particularly excess motion. And so we look at work simplification and we work at other approaches so we can eliminate unnecessary motion and unnecessary transportation. And then finally, probably the most important one, is the waste of making a defective product. So if we do not have good design specifications, we can make a defective product, which we have wasted the labor that has gone into making of that product, we have wasted the raw materials, and we've got to then deal with this mistake that was made. That may mean reworking it, or it may mean throwing it away, all of which is a waste of time and energy. And so as a result of that, whatever we can do in determining a quality standard, we need to do that so we can eliminate all of these. So in terms of food service, we have some expectations that we can use to minimize problems associated with errors that we make in production, but what we can do in terms of quality. We can maintain communication with our customers because their wants and their needs change, and we need to be aware of that so that the products that we're making are not waste, but really meet their expectation. Because standards then are going to be dynamic, changing in response to the environment that we find ourselves in. We're going to talk a little bit later about the Joint Commission for the Accreditation of Healthcare Organizations, JCAHO. This is an international organization, and they establish standards for healthcare and the delivery of health care. And finally, I think we need to establish quality standards that are going to be as high as possible without affecting the cost or our budget. Because what that's going to do is to show our customer that we are serious about providing quality to them. Well, I think that that is a wonderful place to stop, except for this slide. We are going to stop. I'm going to try to stop at about 10 minutes till 7 every night or before. So what we're going to do as we go through this class is that I would like for us to establish a food service evaluation program for our department. So what we can do is to establish a virtual organization and determine then what quality standards must we meet. And so as we go through each of the classes, let's keep that in mind and jot down where we can, or what criteria we can use for evaluating the quality of the services that we provide in our food service department.